G'day YouTube, Warbles on a lot here. I want to talk to you about interacting with norms and why I try not so to do. Norms are short for normals. You know, the people who live in the suburbs, the burbs, the sheep burbs, in with everybody else who's connected to the grid, the sheeples, the normal individuals, and why I try not to bloody hang around with them. Yeah? Because I try not to disturb, I try not to perturb the norms. Yeah? Does that there make sense then? Well, to me it does. Yeah, where are we? There we are. Let's wander across over here. How are you going? Yeah, you're all right. It's all right. Not a problem. Yeah. Take it easy, Munchkin. I'm just going to try and get up some of you so you show up on the video. I try not to hang around with norms because I give them the shits, right? Everybody has a certain fixed ability to listen to my soundtrack before they get sick of it. People I get along well with, it might be, 5 minutes a week, it might be 10 minutes a week, it might be an hour once a month. But I find when I'm trying to interact with the norms, it's a really good idea to titrate the dose of my soundtrack going into their ear holes. Yeah, it's just, as I said to somebody in a text message, my policy is when trouble starts, be somewhere else entirely. And yeah, I had a bit of a bloody wasted morning, like a fucking idiot. I showed up at the 45-year reunion to the Glummanus High School, class is 1978, and like I was part of the Glenninus Infant School kindergarten class in 1966. I was part of the Glenninus Primary School graduation class in 1972. Then, as a lapsed Presbyterian, I got shipped out to a Catholic boarding school because my mother was really busy in manipulating my father's mind so that he would be happy in the marriage, and she didn't have time for an offspring about to enter puberty. So I went off to boarding school for 2 years, a lapsed Presbyterian at Catholic boarding school. Fuck, that was not fun. And then the boarding school closed because the oil crisis meant that they couldn't afford to run a cheap, low-cost boarding school for Catholics who lived way out in the sticks. So they shut down, and I had to come back to Glen Innes. I nearly got sent to Woodlawn in Lismore because my parents were friends with the local Catholic, what they called a Monsignor. So he wrote a reference for me, and I was just about in like Flynn, And then they noticed, hang on, you're Presbyterian. We've got 350 Catholics after De La Salle's closed. They're trying to get into 150 vacancies. We can't possibly take a non-Catholic. How the hell did the Monsignor give you that reference? Yeah, righto. So I went to Glen Innes High School for 6 months, and I plugged back into my high school class my primary school class in 1972. And those poor buggers had been getting terrorised by their parents with the prospect of being sent to boarding school. And I had returned from boarding school because the boarding school had shut down. So I had triumphed over the wicked evil threat of the boarding school. So for some stupid fucking reason, they thought I was a tough guy. God knows why. Yeah? at boarding school for 2.5, well, for a year and a half, year and 3/4, I had been the shit on the bottom of the heap. I was the particular human turd who got trashed by everybody because on my very first day, my loudmouth smartass soundtrack had managed to pick a fight with a bloke whose nickname turned out to be Wee Whack. He was called Wee Whack because that's where his father was stationed as the Australian Army Warrant Officer, Unarmed Combat Advisor, instructor. Yeah, and this fucking moron, whose father was 52 when I was born, who didn't do any fighting at all whatsoever. Yeah, I picked a fight with him because I was a loudmouth smartass. So for the next year and a half, I was the shit on the bottom of the heap. You know, the person who gets bullied by fucking everybody. Yeah, you got it. That was me. And then I come back to Glum Anus High School, right? Glum Anus, Glen Anus, Valley of the Arseholes, miserable arseholes. I come back there after a couple of years away at boarding school, getting my head punched in, being treated like shit. And all these fucking snowflakes who were still living with their parents, they're treating me like I'm a fucking big tough man. So the very first time one of them dared to fucking argue with me, I walked up and punched that prick in the solar plexus, and he folded up like a fucking pair of scissors, fell on the ground and turned blue in the face, like it was 3 minutes before the prick could breathe again. And nobody ever challenged me again. And I got used to being treated like a really fucking top predator. And then, because things happened, like I took a day off and I got a job at the Dodgem Cars. And while I was at the Dodgem Cars, working on them as a school student, an almost 14-year-old, there was a sweet young thing. She was about 16. And her situation was that her father owned a caravan park and he was renting her out to the truck drivers by the hour in the caravans. And she wanted to get away on the show. She wanted to go the fuck out of Glen Innes. And she thought I had a permanent job on the show. So guess who discarded his virginity? And then the very next night, I found a different woman, and I gave her a free ticket on the Dodgem Cars, and I stood behind her so I could perv down her cleavage while she was driving around. And, I was fucking 14 and she was maybe 25. She took exception to this game plan of mine. So what she did was she started at one end of the Dodgem Cars, and she drove a curve of maximum acceleration through 180 degrees and then took a straight up run at the wall. And Muggins here was hanging onto the pole about where the camera was, perving down at the cleavage. I got the 50mm insulated steel pipe connected to the Dodgem car, which weighed, I don't know, 1,000 pounds. They used to put water in the tyre around the outside edge to keep them flat on the ground. Yeah, I got a fractured skull. I never learnt anything in a maths lesson ever after. Right? 24 hours after I discarded my virginity with someone I knew who was a whore in a father's caravan park, I was trying to get a perv on somebody else's tits. And, yeah, I never learnt anything in a maths class after that fractured skull. And holy shit, didn't my face name recognition get shot to shit? Didn't realise that till 5 years ago when I went to the 40-year reunion, and I found that everybody I'd gone to primary school with, I knew them. Everybody who showed up after February 1975, I had no fucking idea who they were. There were people I used to be in tech drawing or woodwork class with them and talked to them all the time. I met them and I talked to them for like 3/4 of an hour. I said, "Excuse me, who the fuck are you?" "Oh, yeah, right. I remember you now." So, yeah, guess who's a whole lot more brain damaged than I recognised that I was. But yeah, today I was damn dumb enough to go and fucking attend the 45-year reunion only a couple of days after I'd made a video about council refusing FPOS because somebody was stealing money. And I got a slightly garbled version of the story, and I gave the impression in the YouTube coverage that the people who stopped working were the people who were stealing, whereas that was not the thing. The person who was stealing is still there. The people who tried to get the thief fired, they resigned in protest. Yeah, okay, so that was not a good start. But then there I was trying to blend in, and nearly all of the people there were women. And I recognised one or two of them, some of the locals, like, okay, I recognise you and I recognise you, and you invited me, and you I had a text conversation with, but who the fuck are all these other people? And then there was a bloke that I remember from 5 years ago told me his name, and I had no recollection of him at all whatsoever. And he told me his name, and oh yeah, right, yeah, I remember you. You're the bloke I don't remember. And old mate Alex Gaden decided to have a fucking huff and puff and chew on me bloody ear hole about what a prick I am because I got certain aspects of a particular story wrong when I've already put up a fucking apology video. But then I'm sort of standing there sitting on me one bourbon and coke because I didn't want to go to town and drink two of them because then I wouldn't be able to come home again because drink driving laws. So I'm sitting there and I'm listening to these people, and the one over here asks the one over here, and I know he's a fucking farmer. He's a proper farmer. I don't know who this prick is. And they're talking about, oh, so do you think we've got a drought coming? Oh, no, I don't think we've got a drought. It might rain next week. It could rain any time. Now, I've just been talking to my next door neighbour a couple of days ago, and he told me that he was talking to a bloke, and that fella bought 1,100 moo cows, right? And a week after he bought the 1,100 moo cows, the price for those same moo cows had dropped by $300 per moo cow. So he hung on to them and he hand fed them, and then he decided he had no fucking water for them. So he took them to the sale yards and he sold them. And after he'd lost $300 like a week after he bought them, he then lost another $400 by the time he got some dumb prick to buy the fucking things. So now it only cost him $700 per moo cow to buy and sell 1,100 moo cows, and that's without thinking about $10,000 per semi-trailer full of fodder for them, like hay, whatever the fuck they're feeding them. Truly. And I'm expected to sit there and shut up and be polite while these assholes, my age, we went to school together, and they're living in a suburban, coal-fired, grid-connected, water reticulated, sewage reticulated, somebody else comes and collects their garbage situation, and they say, oh no, we haven't got a drought. So I bite my little fucking tongue. And then it goes on, and they start boasting about how fucking Voldemort beat the truth last week in the fucking referendum on a voice. And I decided, yeah, yuck foo! Yuck foo and fuck the whores you rode in on. So I went and I said to Alex of the Gaden tribe, I'm not going to put the other people's names in the video. Do you want to be named in the video? Yes, he wanted to be named in the video. And he wanted to say a whole lot of things about the people that he had the cranky pants with. But I don't want to get sued for defamation. And like I said in the previous video, I've actually fucking sat lectures and passed exams in defamation law. They teach it to you when you're a nurse so you don't fuck up. If he wants to say the shit to anybody else that he was saying to me, good luck, Alex. Good fucking luck. I think you'll lose your house if you say that in the main street. But anyway, at that point, I drunk me 2 standard drinks, me 1 can of bourbon and coke. I didn't even fucking bother opening me can of baked beans or, me cutlery set. I offered to pay them, for their hire on the facility. And they said, if you're not going to eat anything, you don't have to pay. So I've done my very fucking level best to try and fit in to the people that I went to primary school with while they were having their high school reunion. The only people I actually talked to were people that don't remember me and I don't remember them. All the people who remember me were basically giving me fucking conversation closers every time I tried to be friendly. So here's how I think, YouTube. There's me and there's you. And you and I, we personally share the planet with 8 billion fucking morons. Ignorant, arrogant, hubristic, destructive fucking morons who are competing with each other to see how fast they can feed the environment to the economy. There was a bloke who's got a better fucking cosmetic result than I have after he had surgery and chemotherapy and radiotherapy for his cancer of the mouth. And he was telling me how he thinks it's quite fucking reasonable to put horses in a horse float the size of a semi-trailer and take them to fucking Western Australia to play a game of polo. What the fuck is the greenhouse gas emission of an exercise like that? And what he said was, oh yeah, but it's a fucking sporting event and the whole family can participate and it keeps us all, like in each other's orbit. If you can't keep your family together without driving to fucking Western Australia to chase a little white wooden ball on a horse around a paddock and then come back again, then there's something really fucking wrong with you. I kept my family together. My daughter lives in the tent over there. My son is the local fucking group officer. He commands 6 brigades. He administers the remote area firefighting team and he teaches 3 different courses and he's a local fucking auto electrician. And I live in a bloody lawn locker on a 100-acre endangered species sanctuary. What the fuck is the matter with all these stupid fucking normal people? Why can't they get the idea that the concept is to live in Australia without displacing the wildlife, without frightening them, without freaking them out? That swamp wallaby has been here for 10 or 40,000 years. That swamp wallaby is genetically designed and epigenetically fine-tuned to be fucking perfect living here. If I come here and I make so much of a change that swamp wallaby can't live here, that makes me a fucking asshole. That means the God theory of the entire universe looks down on me and I am at fault. If everybody else wants to go out there and work their arsehole off to see how much money they can make, they have to pay tax. Their tax pays my pension. I do my fucking best to make sure that a little bit of Australia, the bit I can afford to pay rates on, the bit I could afford to pay for the title deed of, I'm trying to make my little bit of Australia look as close to as it did before fucking Arthur Phillip let go of the sheep and potatoes. And that's why I really had to fucking leave early. Right? Now I'm going to show you the text message that went between me and the lady who organised it. She's a nice lady. I get along with her really well in the main street. But, she sent me a text when I said to her, you tell Alex Gaden that his YouTube apology that he wanted, it's uploading right now. I'm at home. Yahoo yippee. She sent me a text message which said, after I asked her to tell him that the text message, the YouTube video was uploading, will do, thanks Chris, you should have stayed for a while longer, would have been lovely to get a group photo. Yeah, okay, fair enough. I haven't shown your number, Trace. Oops, I didn't think about it. Basically, I couldn't think of anything to talk about which anybody I recognise would be the slightest bit interested in hearing said. And rather than feeling like a pork chop in a synagogue, it was best to piss off and let the mob of strangers have a good reunion instead of hanging around and getting in the way. I fit into normal society, Tracy, about as well as a pineapple fits up a police officer's arsehole. Painful for the cop. Whoopsie. Where are we? There we go. Painful for the cop, disastrous for the arsehole, and a waste of a good pineapple. And hanging out with a bunch of global warming denialists pretending that it'll probably rain soon, while we all get pissed at midday and they want to cheer Voldemort's victory over the truth in last week's referendum, is not anything which I want to be involved with. So there is always that. My strategy is when trouble starts, be somewhere else. Chris. So I hope all the fucking people who are interested in a high school reunion in the town where I grew up, I hope they had a lovely time. I hope they appreciate the fact that I did everything I could to attend, to be friendly, to be a part of it, and then fuck off before I started a fight because I couldn't stand the horse shit they were talking. It's not my fault that the people I went to kindergarten with are a bunch of fucking white supremacist economists who are interested in seeing how much fucking money they can make in the last week before the wheels fall off the environment and everybody fucking dies. That's what they're doing with their lives. I'm doing something different. I'm trying to make the bit of Australia I'm responsible for look as close as possible to the way it did before Governor Arthur Phillip let loose the first fucking sheep and potato brigade to come and make a fucking mess out of all of the Australian continent. And if that means that I have to be really constrained about where the fuck I go and who I talk to, because I really don't want to stir up half a dozen blokes in the middle of a public place when they're getting pissed at midday and they're feeling like cock of the hoop because, ha ha, they fucking beat the blackfellas in the referendum. Yeah, I'd rather fucking go home and talk to the kangaroos and the swamp wallabies. At least they fucking make sense. Warbles on a lot to YouTube. Such is life. You pays your money and you makes your choice. Shit or get off the pot. If you're still trying to grow the fucking economy, you deserve everything that goes wrong with your fucking life. You genocidal asshole. Ciao.